Here's the backup camera. Just a note to myself. Cable goes up when it's positioned on the license plate. And I want to move this camera in this direction. There are two little tiny set screws. You loosen those up, and that camera is actually on a barrel that you can rotate up and down. And then you can tighten it back up, and it's just a flat blade. So that's kind of cool. Okay. The installation of rear backup camera. What I did down here is I didn't want to put this camera, there's a camera right there, I didn't want to put it blocking here, so every year I'd have to take it down to put the tags on. So I didn't, I put it on the bottom. Got it bolt double nutted here, behind here. Here's the actual camera cable. I put a little bit of a shield on the bottom of the razor sharp license plate to guard the video camera cable. Okay, we'll look at the inside in a minute. Inside the trunk, where I drilled one big hole to put the video cable through. This is the end of the video cable that, luckily, it plugs into the rest of my cable that I got to run towards the front of the vehicle. I'll show you where I drilled in a minute. Here's a view of what I drilled on the inside. This hole, and I put a rubber grommet around the cable, video cable, so I don't screw the cable in. And that turned out to be a 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch bit. So all I have to do now is dress it. I'm just going to put it up through the back seat, because nobody rides in the back seat anyway, so I don't really care. And this the main cables that feed up to the monitor in the front of the vehicle have, what do they have? They have, I install quick disconnects. I also have to run the power all the way back here to this camera from the cigarette lighter, which I'll show in a minute. Another interesting view. Still back here in the trunk. I got the video feed coming through a hole I just drilled and put a grommet around it. I'm getting ready to run the rest of the cable to the front of the vehicle. I had to think about this a long time to figure how I'm going to do the install without cutting a whole bunch of holes in my car. So we will continue on. Here are the two separate units I purchased through Amazon. Car rear view camera, Top Tier Pro. That's the camera that bolts up to the license plate. This is a 5-inch diagonal diameter monitor that I purchased. I have it up over here. Show it in a minute. I want to show you the wiring harness that I had to build. Okay, starting with the back where the trunk is at. This is what the trunk video cable plugs into right here at this point. I also had to identify a power cable. So actually I purchased this online also. It's 25 foot long. I think it's 18 to 22 gauge, somewhere in that neighborhood. But I liked it because it was black and white, so there's one of each separate, so I can keep everything color coded. So right here, I hooked it up to the camera supplied cable with quick disconnects, so I can easily pull these apart. This is going to reside in the trunk. And if we come down here, here's the cable run. Now we're going towards the front of the vehicle. And here's another quick disconnect for the power, which I'm going to pick up off of the cigar lighter. And I've tested this in-house already with 12-volt power supply that I use for my ham radio equipment. And continuing on, here is the video and the power feed for the camera. And it's a good looking camera. It has 3 adjustments on the back. And it has an adjustable foot. I'm not quite sure yet where I'm going to mount it, but you'll see in the end. And those things plug together and plug it into the cigarette lighter. Turn on the accessory or the engine, and I got power to my system. It's not black and white, it's black and red. It's the cable I mentioned earlier. It was black and white. And I mentioned also that this was the camera. This is the monitor. I'm sorry. It's a 5-inch diagonal monitor. And it looks really good. At least on the bench, on the test bench. I also found out one thing on the test bench versus actually plugging it into the car system. The video line that leads up to the monitor here has a little pigtail, a little red pigtail. And as I was reading the instructions that came with the monitor, it suggested that this was for vehicles that have modern digital radios, or they already have a monitor system for a backup camera, and you would use this and plug it into your radio or your onboard monitor system already installed. My car's 21 years old, so it doesn't have any of that fancy stuff. However, without power, that's what you see this red is the power going into this pigtail. All my monitor would do would flash on and then go right back out, was getting any supplied power. So that's why test 3 or 4 times before you do the install to make sure everything is working properly. And this was a last minute test. I wanted to test it a 3rd time on the bench to see if everything was working after I put this harness together, and this little red pigtail for power that feeds into your video coming from the camera in the back of the vehicle. It's got to have power, so you need power to it. I just plugged in the monitor there, and then this is the power. There, now the power, that's how it'll be installed in the vehicle. So we'll give that a test and see how it actually works on the vehicle. Okay, we button the back end up with the cables along the left side here, and then down along here, underneath there, and right between the 2 rear seats tops. I ran the cable. So it's coming together. It's getting there. Yeah, it's not pretty. The cigar lighter thing is right there. There's the monitor, it's just temporarily set up there. I'll turn the key on. Well, looks like we got something. The adjustments on the back, I can run through them. I hit the menu, and it's brightness, and it's got a plus or a minus button. Hit menu again to get the contrast. Saturation, this color saturation. Tint. Turn the tint down. Okay. Here we go. Now I'm inside of a garage, so I'm not sure how much side view I'm going to get. Okay, let's back it up just a little bit. See the truck to the left. And then the sun took everything out. I relocated it down to the instrument cluster. Nothing's hooked up permanent. Go back inside. That's it. Now it's just a matter of figuring out where I want to set this thing. Turn the accessories on. I don't use the tachometer, so I can move it over to the tachometer area. All I have is a temperature gauge back there. Or what my original plan was to set it down in the console, down in here. I'm not going to be using it all that often. Definitely don't want to leave it up on the dashboard because sun or thieves will grab it. And for temporary use, I can even have it down here in the console. Stand on my head to look at it. And put it up in here. This is a little compartment. Covers the radio though. I'm sure I'll figure out a place to put it. I can always get somebody to hold it for me. Hey, do you mind holding this up while I back up? Okay. Now, onwards and upwards, I guess. Down the console, I wrapped it in this black 3/8 plastic stuff. Nobody sits back here anyway, but if they do, there's maneuverability. Now I find a place for it right down here, ahead of my gear shifter. blue over here, trash can, would represent a car out of my normal view. So as I back up, that'll work out pretty good. And again, it's all temporary. It's not hardwired in. It works for me. Unless you knew what you were looking for, you wouldn't even notice the camera. But there she be. Yeah, I got some miles on this. 95. It's a 1995. 184, 260. Best car I've ever had. Except for my Dodge Dart Swinger. This big 340 race engine in it. That was cool. But I couldn't fit all those baby cribs and chairs and stuff. Okay, so job complete.